Can I not marry? Audio web novel chapter 63. The couple finally have an argument. Lacey, how come your spirit doesn't look very well? During lunchtime, Long Xiaohua stared at Du Lacey with concerns. Using Baidu's search engine to read a novel, Du Lacey heaved a sigh. Alas. It's affirmative that her spirits wouldn't appear good. Which person who suffers from insomnia all night, then had to get up early at the break of dawn the next day, then encounter a thrilling love confession early in morning, could maintain their high fighting spirit? Even Ultraman would get tired of fighting monsters and needed to rest. Lacey, do you have something in your mind? Me. Du Lacey gave a stiff smile. Nola, it'll be strange if there wasn't any. Her initial plans were call off their Cold War. She intended to wait for the president to surrender, however she didn't expect the president to suddenly ignore her. To say precisely, the president unexpectedly treated her as if she was air. When he passed through reception he pretended she didn't exist. He was even talking and laughing with his beautiful secretary as they entered the elevator. Regarding this matter, it made Du Lacey absent-minded at work the entire morning, and because of this she was almost punished by Su Mali to clean the male toilets. Was she that easily bullied? T_______T. When lunchtime came around, Du Lacey still couldn't understand where has she offended the president, causing his anger to be so big. The ancient saying is certainly right. To be in the king's company is tantamount to living with a tiger. Lacey, you have to keep your chin up. In the afternoon there's still a staff meeting, Long Xiaohua said. Staff meeting. That's right. Every month there would be a staff meeting. When the time comes President Lian would make a speech on stage. It's very exciting. Long Xiaohua said. Lian Jun. Just mentioning him, Du Lacey's chest felt stuffy. I'm telling you, every third Friday afternoon of the month our Lian Enterprise will hold a staff meeting. You know what we call it? What? Du Lacey seemed to be somewhat absent-minded. We call it the menstruation conference. Poof. Du Lacey sprayed out her saliva. Menstruation conference, very good, what an vivid image. So this afternoon, it was Du Lacey's first time participating the legendary menstruation conference as a Lian Enterprise employee. The meeting was arranged in the company's auditorium, all the staff were present, and even the cleaner Andy was present. Du Lacey followed Long Xiaohua entering the auditorium. Originally she wanted to find a corner location, however she did not expect Long Xiaohua to enthusiastically pull her to the front row seats. Quick, quick, quick. There are still 2 vacancies. She cried, while quickly running over to shotgun the seats, then beckoning her hands toward Du Lacey. Come quickly come. Du Lacey had no other choice but walk towards Long Xiaohua's direction. She have to admit that Long Xiaohua's seat-robbing skills were extraordinary, being able to grab the 2 remaining seats in front of the podium. Her field of vision is simply amazing. Du Lacey sat down and began to fidget. Her mind was full of vision of her and Lian Jun. She could not help but wanting to back out. Xiaohua, I'm feeling a little unwell. She was just about to slip away, when she was pulled back by Long Xiaohua. Hush. Coming. When she looked at the podium again, sure enough, Lian Jun was moving steadily towards the podium dressed in a black suit. The originally noisy venue suddenly quieted down. Everyone's eyes were on Lian Jun. To leave at this time was obviously not a wise choice. Du Lacey had to continue to sitting there scratching her dandruff. In order to prevent the president from discovering her she also deliberately hung her head, not once looking up. After a while, there was a few taps on the microphone before Lian Jun's voice suddenly echoed through the venue. Good afternoon fellow employees. His tone was different from his usual one. It was elegant and calm, neither anxious nor slow. It contained a faint trace of domineering aura. Du Lacey's heart suddenly shuddered. Before coming onto the stage, I have been asking myself a question. Why should I stand here? Why do you want to sit there? This problem seems very boring, but in fact, he paused, it is really boring. Off the stage there was a burst of laughter. The president's humor is really cold. Du Lacey said this in her heart. Again she lowered her head. She couldn't let the president see her. Definitely must not. Fortunately, her prayers were answered. The opening speech went on for 10 minutes. Lian Jun was still on stage, talking continuously. Du Lacey's heart slightly widened, although her head was still hung low. However she began to listen to his speech. The main topic of the meeting appears to be on corporation presence. On the stage Lian Jun spoke in unhurried manner filled with quips. From time to time it'll cause a burst of laughter from the audience below. Gradually, Du Lacey was also attracted by his speech. She could not help but raise her head. What kind of company is considered a good company? It is clear that it's impossible for a company not generate revenue. A good company creates value, so that their employees are happy and content, to give the shareholders and employees the best return possible. Lian Jun on the stage, was in high-spirited as his gestures were oozing with attractiveness, attracting the attention of all those who were listening to his speech. Du Lacey looked until she became wooden. She suddenly felt the present Lien Jun was different from the past. He was superior and mighty, speaking about his enterprise, his philosophy in life. Every word and phrase were full of wisdom. He was the king above millions, while she, at that moment, Du Lacey suddenly felt sadness for no particular reason, as if she had fallen into a deep abyss, and she wanted to get hold of him. However, he was standing over there, seemingly so remote and untouchable. Xiao Hua, I need to go to the toilet. She finally found it unbearable and wanted to escape this unfamiliar him. She wanted to find corner where there was no one, letting herself have some peace and quiet. However, when she was ready to leave from the side door, she suddenly heard someone calling out to her, young madam, young madam. She obeyed and looked towards the direction that voice came from. She saw Jason standing not far from her, desperately waving at her. Du Lacey took a glance at her left and right. After determining Jason was calling her, she walked over. What's the matter? Her sentence has yet to be finished when Jason have already began to drag her. His tone contained a sense of urgency. Quickly come with me, there is something urgent. Du Lacey was confused by Jason's strange words and deeds. Seeing him so impatient, she thought she better not ask too much. She could only let him pull her to the backstage of the podium. When they arrived backstage, she didn't know why, but the surround lighting suddenly dimmed. However, Jason continued to moving forward. It was only after a while did he suddenly halt his movements. What's wrong? Du Lacey asked. She had a vague feeling that something was wrong. Young madam, I'm sorry, it's all the president's idea. After Jason finished speaking, Du Lacey felt something been placed into her hand, then she felt a strong thrust from behind her, pushing her forward. Suddenly the vision before her shone brightly, then Du Lacey was instantly petrified. What kind of situation is this? She did not know how she ended up on the stage. She was even holding a large bouquet of flowers within her hands. A strong spotlight shone on her. Below the stage was filled with people. Everyone's eyes showed astonishment due to her sudden appearance. Du Lacey suddenly felt dizzy. During her confusing state, she saw Lien Jun's face. He turned around and stared at her with his silent, impermeable glaze. At that moment, time seemed to as if frozen. Du Lacey stood there not knowing what to do. The bouquet of flowers within her hands suddenly felt so heavy. What should she do? Should she walk over, or should she leave? After thinking for a long time, biting her lips, she gripped tightly on the bouquet of flowers and slowly made her way towards him. Their distances were merely a few steps away, however she found the journey arduous. Under the watchful eyes of those present, she felt the unprecedented pressure, and finally, she arrived in front of him. Stretching out her hands, she passed the bouquet of flowers to him. Lien Jun expressionlessly took the bouquet of flowers. His deep glaze never once left her body. It was like a piece of net, binding her tightly, causing her to become breathless. Yes, this is the feeling of suffocation. She took 2 steps back, wanting to run and escape from such an awkward situation. However, she suddenly was caught by a pair of hands. Using a gentle force, he pulled her over. When she wanted to cry out, her lips were already sealed. He even kissed her in broad daylight, under so many glazes. There was a moment of silence from the audience. However, after a moment it caused an uproar. What's going on? Who's this person? Isn't that Du Lacey, the new employee from the reception department? Xiaodu. Unexpectedly it is Xiaodu. Oh my god, how could the president kiss her? Ellipsis. The discussion was shaking heaven and earth. In the center of the storm, it was surprisingly calm. Neither of them didn't utter a single word. Lien Jun didn't speak because he was kissing too seriously, while Du Lacey didn't because she lost the ability to think straight. After a long time, he reluctantly left her lips, firmly staring at her. Du, you are mine. His voice was not loud, however it sounded like he was making a pledge. That's right, she is his, no one can change this. Du Lacey didn't remember how the situation ended. She just vaguely recalled Lien Jun as the owner of the company made an announcement, stating that she is his wife, causing those below to fry crazily in the pot of hot oil. When she returned to the front desk, almost every single employee from the company were watching her every movement. Even the usually empty locker room were packed with people trying to get a glimpse of the president's wife, making her so frightened that she didn't even dare to change her work clothes. Hurriedly she tried to escape. However, halfway through the hallway she encountered Long Xiaohua and Xiao Wang. She wanted to greet them, but they pretended they didn't see her and quickly left. As for Su Mali, who usually appeared unctuous, plastered on a fake stuck-up smile, making one to feel extremely uncomfortable. In short, all this was terrible. She didn't like it one bit, didn't like it at all. At the end of the day, Lien Jun took the initiative to look for her. To avoid causing a commotion, Du Lacey did not speak. She quietly packed her belongings and left the company with Lien Jun. Even when she was sitting in the car, she was still clutching her handbag without uttering a single word. Lien Jun also didn't say anything. He started the car and left the company, driving towards the direction of their home. Along the way, the car atmosphere were unprecedentedly silent. He continued driving while she was immersed in her own thoughts. It wasn't until the car entered the house, did Lien Jun finally broke his moment of silence. Why did you leave so early this morning? Du Lacey did not answer, she just tightly clutched onto her handbag. Lien Jun imperceptibly frowned. Du, what are you angry at? She remained silent, she bit down on her lips until it turned pale, then reached for the car door handle. Suddenly, her wrist was tightly grabbed. Answered me, Lien Jun said with a commanding cold tone. I don't want to talk about it now. She finally spoke, her voice was low and hoarse. Lien Jun froze for a moment, the strength of his grip loosened slightly. Du Lacey took the opportunity to open the car door and rushed out. However, she only ran a few steps, when all of a sudden she collided with someone. Sound, the small figure fell on the ground. Du Lacey didn't have the time to understand what had happened, when suddenly a wah crying sound came from the ground. What are you doing? Lien Jun came out of the car, helped the person on the ground up. It was only then did Du Lacey see clearly the small person she bumped to the ground was Princess Hao, who they haven't seen in a long time. The moment Princess Hao saw Lien Jun, she cried more loudly, her tiny hand wiped the large tears that fell from her eyes, she appeared extremely pitiful. How do you walk? Lien Jun said with a reproach tone. I didn't mean to. Hush. Lien Jun interrupted her, you are so impulsive, what if you injured her, what are you going to do? His tone was ice cold, his glaze were reproachful. Du Lacey's heart felt an all prick, extremely painful. Don't act like a child for everything, you're a grown adult. If there's something bothering you, we can do to sit down and discuss it. His voice sounds like they were in a negotiation, filled with preaching. Du Lacey wanted to say something, but she couldn't bring herself to open her mouth. After a while, Lien Jun have already embraced the crying Princess Hao and walked toward the house. Staring at his leaving figure, Du Lacey's heart developed an unspeakable discomfort. She wanted to cry, yet the tears refused to come out. She wanted to explain herself to him, yet she couldn't bring herself to open her mouth either. Until their shadow disappeared through the door, she still stood in the same place, staring toward the direction he left, in a daze. Suddenly she remembered the words Lien Anna had said to her. In this world, some things, some people, are bound to be missed. The cool autumn wind blew on her body, steeping into her heart. Suddenly there was a chill breeze blowing through her mind. At that moment, they were like two people from different worlds. That night, Du Lacey remained silent, she quietly looked at Lien Jun coaxing Princess Hao to eat, conversing with her, smiling at her, as if nothing has happened at all. Suddenly she discovered that she actually never known what this man's heart was thinking. She has been accustomed to his controls regarding everything, always following in his footsteps, until one day, she discovered she could no longer catch up with him. Du Lacey's heart felt vexed, thus she got up and wanted to go upstairs. You don't leave, Princess Hao said, accompany me to play Sun Wukong taking down the white bone demon. Du Lacey pretended not to hear, and continued to walk away. The little brat has always been treated like a princess at home, thus she couldn't ignore someone disregarding her. She threw the rabbit within her hands and straightforwardly cried, Hoo, you're a bad person, you won't play with me. You have finished speaking. Du Lacey roared. This roar finally intimidated the little brat. She blinked at Du Lacey. Moments later, her eyes reddened and pit-a-pat of tears fell down from her cheeks. This time it was real tears. Coincidentally, Lien Jun also happened to walk into the living room and witnessed this scene. If you have something you're dissatisfied with, come to me, don't frighten the child. Du Lacey's attitude also changed upon seeing Princess Hao crying so severely. Momentarily she was at a loss what to do. I didn't mean it, I'm just. Don't make excuses for yourself. Lien Jun said. I'm trying to make an excuse, I'm just. You're looking for an excuses, he interrupted her, his complexion didn't look very good. She was speechless, with a belly full of grievances. I did not. She almost shouted out this sentence and she left him standing there as she rushed up the stairs without turning around. When Du Lacey ran into the room, closed the door, her mood was almost at the point of collapsing. Why he is always the one who's right. In front of him, why is she always the wrong one? Why does he never ask her how she felt, nor did he give her a chance to speak? Why? She kept on asking these whys, her chest felt so congested that it was suffocating and breathless. And when shock suddenly hit her, her tears have uncontrollably slid down her cheeks. Suddenly the door to their room opened. The sound of steady footsteps were heard, one step at a time moving closer towards her. Then she felt the side of the bed sink. She did not turn around because she was afraid of Lien Jun seeing her tears. We should have a good talk, he calmly said. Not a trace of weaver was heard from his voice. If you have any dissatisfaction with me, you can say it. You are not a child, you can't lose your temper over some small issues. Du Lacey bit her lips and finally said, You're right, I'm not a kid, so I don't want to follow your footsteps. Lien Jun's pupil contained some complexity. I walked in front of you because I want to protect you. You are too rash, there's a lot of things you don't handle well. I do these things because I don't want you to get hurt. You don't want me to be hurt, but can you not? You lead me by the rope. I also have my own choices. I do not want you to always decide everything for me without my agreement. Do you mind what happened this afternoon? His eyes suddenly dark, his tone suddenly became ice cold. So you mind letting others know of our relationship? Yes, I do mind. She finally turned around and faced him with a face full of tears. I mind that you decide everything without consenting me. I mind that you always put on a superiority appearance, as if you have everything under your control. Have you ever thought of what I thought? Have you ever asked how I felt? I hate everyone's watchful glazes. I hate them gossiping about me. I hate being the focus topic of others. You do not know these. When she finished her speech, her mood was clearly agitated. Lien Jun held onto her shoulders. All I've done is for your own good. You are my wife. I don't want others bullying you. Excuses. She suddenly interrupted him. You want me to stop making excuses, yet you're trying to find excuses for all your actions. The things you've done is because you want to tell everyone, I am your possessions. He froze in place for a moment before he stared at her wildly. You are mine. No, I am not yours. I am an independent person. I have my own thoughts. I have the right to choose how I live. I don't want you to control every little thing that's mine. Her lips were seized by an aggressive kiss, as if pledging to the world that she is his. Do, you are mine. He released her and said with a firm tone. She already don't know what else to say to him. Yes, there is nothing to say. The things he decided on will not change, and the person he decided on he must also set on the direction he has assigned. Everything is all said and done to his liking. Du Lacey suddenly feels slightly tired. I'm tired. I want to take a rest, she said. His hand cupped her face. You should have a good rest and calm down. Calm down. Du Lacey's mouth curved into a wry smile. Just as he said, they should really sober and calm down.